So we are back where we started as, well, not as Kate, but following Kate. What an unbelievably heartbreakingly beautiful moment that was just then. I guess let's start with Tower 1. But the heartbreak of, you see Stephen as this incredible asshole through the whole thing, but then you realise he was just trying to do what he thought was best, and the way it led to him at the end, and he was about to give up, and he saw Kate, but it was too late. And now here we are.
On the plane, Stephen leaned across me and pointed out of the window. "Down there," he said. "That's home." But all I saw were patches of color. I don't think until this moment that I understood that one could contain the other so completely.
So it looks as though Kate has been trying to figure this out, marking out where the dead birds are, seeing if there's a pattern in all of this. I guess that's one way to try and do it. So I'm guessing these are the radio towers that she was talking about, trying to calculate, trying to send out signals to the heavens above. Now, do I go up there or do I go over to Tower 2? I think we go to Tower 2. Let's do this chronologically. So I like as well how in this whole thing it's gone from daytime to nighttime. I guess we just need to figure out who we are at the end of this, if we're just an observer in this all, or this is the entity growing up, figuring out what's going on. What have we got here? Print is feeding out signals. So the second recorder's in here.
I watched a butterfly dancing in a strip of sunlight. All of its life contained in a single day. The blink of an eye between the ebb of the darkening tide. Lying there with the pattern curled around me, I saw the inevitability. The necessity of presence born from absence. The constant unfolding.
So again, it seems like the chaos theory and the butterfly effect are things affecting games this year. It was meant, obviously it's a key part of Life is Strange, it's a key part of this as well. It's no surprise to me that the pattern looks like a butterfly, and we saw that book earlier about the butterfly effect. So that's Tower 1. So we need Tower 3 now. What an absolutely beautiful game. I'm so glad that this has panned out, because there's always a worry, isn't there, when you play a game that it's not going to live up to your kind of expectations or standards. Hello, little butterfly. You're not an alien from outer space, are you? Do you know, sometimes I go out in my garden at night, because where I am is so clear. I look out up at the sky, and I'll finish this in a second.
I know it didn't mean to hurt any of them. I try and explain why Lizzie tried to leave with her child and why it was wrong to stop her. I try and explain that much of what it did was wrong. It shows me Stephen and Lizzie together, and I'm happy for them. Frank walks his fields with Mary. Wendy and Edward nest together in the orchards of their love. Jeremy lies at peace with his God at last. All of them are happy because they are together. I understand it better now. It is a collector of time. No butterflies.
So she's saying that we are butterflies to this thing. And I don't know if you saw the patterns there, but I mean, it's showing the connections between people, really. So again, like Life is Strange, it's showing you how people are connected and how people's actions connect everyone. Because if these are representations of the souls, the people, Frank, Stephen, Wendy, then it's showing how we're all a part of each other's lives. What a beautiful story. What a beautiful exploration of kind of the idea of society and sci-fi and chaos and the end of the world. A collector of time, though, does that mean that this entity has frozen time? But yeah, as I was saying earlier, you know, where I am is so clear that sometimes I just look up at the stars and I'm always going, which one of those stars is the Enterprise? When are you gonna beam me up? So we're at Tower 4 now. And I wonder what observation we're gonna find here and who this beam of light is. Maybe this is the pattern. I wonder if we're gonna become the pattern now. But I haven't seen Kate's soul, unless these bits are Kate's soul, spirit, guide, whatever you want to call the balls that we've been following around.
I watched the pattern lean in and time slow to almost nothing. I saw the flame leap from Stephen's hand and the moment hang in the air forever. I watched his face, and in the last second, I almost believe he saw me. He wasn't frightened or angry. I remember his expression, just like I remember it from the first time. Early that morning when he woke and, still half sleeping, said, "God, I love you." And I loved him as he entered the fire. And I let him go, knowing I wasn't ready to join him. We have held time to ourselves here in this place. Held the light to the ground because we were afraid of the coming dark. But now we understand that to cling to the light is not living. I've spent my life watching the illumination from a million dead stars reaching for me without grasping this meaning. The light we cast transcends our death. The pattern made by our living creates a bridge across the dark.
Well, take from that what you will. But interesting there, you can see what Kate has done and how she is responsible for spreading the pattern across the village by using all these satellite dishes to move the signal into the main electricity pylon and into all the transmissions. So Kate is responsible for infecting, spreading, cultivating this thing and sending it across the valley and ultimately dooming everyone.
It reaches out from the shadow of the tower, across the observatory, over the valley, and consumes the world. Everything is light now. Everything has come to rest. The world is scored by the traces we carved into it. Our presence is everywhere, the bridge joining our stories. This world existed before we came to it, and it will continue without us. In the empty fields and houses, our traces radiate, and others will come to dance in the light we cast. We can slip away gently, unafraid, knowing that everything will continue.
So she's basically saying that there is life after death, and that life is the light we create when we're alive, so the memories and the relationships and the connections we make with people when we're alive. At least that's what I'm taking with it. If you have a different interpretation, then tell me in the comments below. Tell me on my subreddit. I mean, I'm so open to discussion on this. Such a fascinating story and exploration of science and life and philosophy and what does this all mean. So here we come to the final tower. What will we find inside? Notice how it's playing the same music that we started with.
The end is coming now. I'm not afraid. We have each other. We lived apart from them. We understand now our failure to touch, to belong. But it doesn't matter anymore. Everybody is gone, and we will join them. We are born apart, driftwood on the banks of an endless dark ocean, and we will be carried away by the swell soon enough. But in between, in the single day of living, that dancing in a strip of sunlight, we can find what we miss. The love that makes us whole. The imminence. Everybody found their other. This pattern is mine.
Wow, what an ending. So I did wonder, and she does have a point, that everyone who left with someone else, and I guess Kate is left to the alien, to the pattern, to whatever you want to deem it. So I think that was an absolutely amazing game. Game sounds cheap to me, an experience. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you have too. You've heard what my speculation is on what happened. They found a signal, they experimented, they brought it down, Kate brought it to life, and it infected the village and the surrounding world by passing through telephones, through electricity. And she nurtured it, she brought it to life while Stephen tried to stop it, tried to take it away, and tried to ultimately kill the village so he could stop this whole thing spreading and taking over the whole world. But ultimately it didn't happen. Well, maybe it did. Maybe he did stop it by dropping the gas, but she said that this thing was a time traveler, so it feels to me like it froze the whole area in time and we are just exploring what happened. So almost like her story or something like that, we're going back over and exploring something that's already happened. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't know if you can tell, but I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know what you thought in the comments below and over on my subreddit. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys on what you thought everything meant from this and what it all comes to. But what a beautiful experience. I think the music was perfect, the pacing was perfect, the little stories of lives, ordinary lives made special. Absolutely fantastic. And I don't know if you noticed there, Sam Barlow, who obviously developed her story, is being thanked by the Chinese Room. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me on this adventure and this journey. I'll see you all next time. So one thing I wanted to look into was the rather unusual name of the developing studio, which is the Chinese Room. And I looked it up, and I'm literally going to quote this from Wikipedia here because it's a bit too highbrow, and I want to go do a little bit more reading into this before I kind of, process it. But so here's the basic explanation. The Chinese Room is a thought experiment presented by John Searle to challenge the claim that it's possible for a computer running a program to have a mind and a consciousness in the same sense that people do, simply by virtue of running the right program. The experiment is intended to refute a philosophical position that Searle named strong AI. John Searle is an American philosopher. So he believed the appropriately programmed computer with the right inputs and outputs would thereby have a mind in exactly the same sense as human beings have minds. So that's the proposition that he's contesting. So that proposition I just read out is the strong AI proposition. So Searle's idea is, so his argument is, and I'm quoting him directly from Wikipedia, suppose that I'm locked in a room and that I know no Chinese, either written or spoken. He further supposes that he has a set of rules in English that enable me to correlate one set of formal symbols with another set of formal symbols, that is, the Chinese characters. These rules allow him to respond in written Chinese to questions also written in Chinese in such a way that posers of the questions who do understand Chinese are convinced that Searle might actually understand the Chinese conversation too, even though he cannot. which I think is quite fascinating. So he's basically saying that even if he tries to construct a conversation using Chinese characters, it may fool the Chinese people who can speak people who speak Chinese into thinking he can speak it, but he doesn't, because he's just copying what is to him pictograms and characters, calligraphy. So similarly, he argues if there's a computer program that allows the computer to carry on an intelligent conversation in a written language, the computer executing the program would not understand the conversation either. Wow, so this is something that I definitely want to go and read up on a lot more outside of this. But yeah, that is what the developers, the Chinese Room, have based their name on, which I think is apt given the kind of how Dear Esther works and how this game is. So yeah, what a completely apt name for these guys. Yeah, so that was just something that was bugging me and I wanted to look into it, so I just wanted to share what I found with you. One more thing before I go, guys. So at the end of the credits, this screen comes up with this code, and I checked, and this isn't a collection of the codes that we found throughout the game over the radios and all that. Unfortunately, the discussion of what that is raging on over at Everybody Gone to the Rapture's Reddit forum, but this code is actually a little bit easier to solve. So this one relies on kind of like the standard code of A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, all the way up to Z, which is 26. So the trick to this is figuring out which ones are double-digit numbers and which is a single-digit number. But so again, I kind of found this from Reddit, so all credit to this guy on Reddit. I spotted it there first, and he translated it, decoded it, ciphered it, whatever. And it says this: in the wake of a human being's death, what survives is a set of afterglows, some brighter and some dimmer, in the collective brains of those dearest to them. There is, in those who remain, a collective corona that still glows. And that is by Douglas Hofstadter. And it's from a book that Douglas wrote called I Am a Strange Loop, which I haven't actually read, but I think I'm going to go and get out and read it after this. It was written in 2007, and it is Douglas I can't say his surname, so I'm just going to say Douglas, examining the idea of the strange loop of figuring out what I is, what you are. So it's exploring the sense of I and what you are, and he explores his own life and who he chooses to be. And I think it is beautifully relevant to this whole game, because obviously what survives is a set of afterglows, and of course the lights are what showed us the stories of Yorton. So I think, yeah, what an absolutely beautiful quote to end the game with. As for the radio clues, people still don't know what that is. People are toying with Morse code. Some people have deciphered the ones near the train station as an old train code called the WOW code or something like that, the WOW signal. But if you want to read more into that, then head on over to the Reddit thread. It's called reddit.com/EGTTR, and there's a whole load of people trying to decipher it there who have made notes and all that. Yeah, on a side note, I just want to say thank you so much for your support during this whole playthrough. I've been checking in every day on the Reddit threads, on Twitter, and it has generated such amazing conversations between you all that it's genuinely been exciting and amazing to be a part of this conversation. And, you know, it just reminds me what a great community we can be at times, like coming together to discuss something like this. So it's been absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad you've enjoyed my walkthrough, and thank you ever so much for your support and for your love, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheerio for now.